sit. We always have him sit before any boundary. Anytime I have a chance to step through that boundary, have him wait in the sit stay, step back to him. Okay, have him walk through with me on a loose leash. Make sure he doesn't pull you through. The most you have to do is just do like a little prompt. It's kind of like how I'm doing now. It's all really gentle. It's just a signal to him if he tries to rush it. By stepping through and stepping back, you're making that little exercise extra hard for him because, well, first of all, it's a lot harder for him to do that than to just walk through with you, but also you're accentuating the fact that that is your boundary, not his. Sit, and he's only going to go through it when you come back to get him and walk through with you calmly, so that's why we do that. You saw what I did. I did a left circle to close the door, came here, did another left circle to straighten him out, to have him sit in front of the mat. With my right hand, I'm going to pat his chest and say, go to your mat. And then I'm going to say down. Then we're going to start this little exercise. Good. So we just put the food on the mat and we withdraw and he takes it off the mat. Could you step a little closer, maybe right there in the corner there, so you can see what I'm doing here. This is the way it's supposed to be. You see how he's waiting? Withdrawing, he takes it off the mat. Don't accept anything less than that. There's no putting it down, he touches your hand, tries to take it out of your hand. That's not good. You want him, every aspect of this exercise is him being very calm, not reactive, following all the rules. Good, just like that. And then you gradually do things that are a little bit harder for him to handle as you start. We're just doing a basic down stay, is where he stays in a down. He accepts us walking around both ways behind him. He's already better than most dogs just because he can do that. Good, but that's just kind of our warm-up. Then you can start doing things in your household that are a little bit harder. And first of all, one of them is walking farther away. So I'm walking way to the back of the house, way back here, where he can't even see me, coming back. He did turn his body a little bit. You don't want him to do that, so if he does that, you can always take some food when you come back, kind of lure him to be straight. See what I did? I just kind of went like that and he followed it. Good, okay. So that technically wasn't a mistake, but if he turns all the way around and he's facing that way, you're gonna have to say no, get him up, put him back. And then we start doing things like going in different directions. In this case, I'm going to go in the back of the house behind a door and make some noise. So if you're going to do something that you think is difficult for him to handle, you want to remind him what to keep doing before you do it. So before I do that, I'm going to say down, just to remind him what to keep doing. Go back here, make a bunch of noise. Good. Always, no matter what you do, where you go, you always come back here every time. Reward him in that way. Good, just like that. So let's try this. Very often it's an invitation for the dog to get up and come over to you when you sit down on the sofa like this. And I'm going to be extra dramatic. You're not going to usually do this kind of stuff, but see, he can handle that pretty well. Good. Gets another reward for that. Good. If he would have popped up and come over, I would have said, no, stay calm though. No, lead him back over. Put a little pressure on the leash, put him back. Go back and do it again until he stays there. And of course, when he stayed there, he got a reward. So he knows how to play this game. Maybe something on wheels like this would be difficult for him. And he's doing pretty good. Good boy. Good. So let's start doing some really hard stuff now. Gonna leave the house, leave him alone in the living room, and make all the sounds that everybody usually has at their front door. Of course, this is going to be difficult for him, so I'm going to remind him down. Start off with doorbell and knocking on the door. Oh, good. Good. Obviously, we've been practicing, but this is just to show you how to do it, show you what he's doing now and how he left, how he was when he left my place. How about this? Banging on windows. How about a mail flap? We'll just throw everything at him. Doorbell, knocking on the door. Good. So this, coupled with the way we handle him going in and out of boundaries every day, all day long, every time, has changed his whole perception of what it means and how to act in this main entry area. And we'll just, when I come to your house to do the lessons, we'll just transfer all this to your entry area by your front door. That's usually the place where dogs get the most excited, because that's where you come and go when you come home from work and leave, and where visitors come and delivery guys come, the mailman comes. So you want him to, every day, have a little bit of time like this, which could just be 5 minutes a day on the mat, where he practices being super calm in this environment and in this spot. Wherever you do this exercise, he's going to start perceiving that area as the calm zone, and you'll see just when he's on free time, he'll be acting a lot less excitably and less reactive when people knock on the door or whatever, because he's becoming desensitized to those occurrences, those distractions. Good. And of course, there's a million things you could do to try to trick him to get up. A lot of dogs will just get up when you pull on the leash like this. Good. But he's not. Good. But he did at first, because I'd pull on the leash a little bit and he'd get up and come to me, because that's what whoever's walking him on the leash before you adopted him was probably dragging him along. So, but now he knows that there's only one way he ever gets off that mat, and that's when you come back next to him, pat your leg and say, okay. And in this case, we're going to have him sit, and I'm going to release him outside, but of course they're going through the front door, so we're still going to do that front door thing. Loose leash at all times. He waits. I come back. He walks through calmly with me. Okay. See how I had to slow him down? If you have to stop at this threshold to really get it clear to him that this is not where you rush around anymore, sit, you have to do that. So have him sit on the outside and then pat his chest, go, take his leash off, and he's gets to have a little free time outside. We're walking him up to his crate. I'm just going to do a little left circle there. Sit. See how those work so well? The more you do that, the more under control he'll be. There's no tension on the leash. Your body's doing all the work. The most you'd have to do if you're doing a left circle is do your little prompts, very gentle and firm. It's kind of like tapping the brakes to slow him down. That's the most you'd have to do, but the leash is loose 99% of the time. We have him sit in front of the crate. Open the door. No. He loves his crate, so make sure he really waits. He's got to wait until you actually allow him. You pat his chest and say, go. He goes in. He's never been in this crate before, and this is not where his crate usually is, so we're going to help him. And then we're going to give him a treat when he goes in there. Normally he'll just run in the crate. His whole routine here for the last month has been in and out of the crate throughout the day, sleeping in the crate overnight, and of course one last time outside before we go to bed, and then first thing in the morning straight out of the crate, and then throughout the day in and out, free time out in the yards, and then back in for an hour, back out, in and out. So he's very used to this routine. This is the way we do it every time. We have him sit, he waits, we let him go in, he goes in, he turns back towards us, he gets a treat, we take off a little prong collar that we're using for training, hang it on the door like that. I've been practicing this little exercise where the door's open and I say no. See, I'm not slamming the door in his face and creating waffle marks on his face, but I just do a little mild closing there, let the door bounce. When he waits, he gets treats, and I say good. If he tries to come out, give it a little bounce and say no. If he waits, good, good. So when I'm going to take him out, let's say he's been in there for a while, I hook up the little collar, little training collar, prong collar to the leash. I open the door, give him a treat, he waits, he tries to come out, no. He waits, treat, because this is a very important boundary that you should control. It's just as important as that front door boundary. It's the boundary to his den. And then you just hook him up, it's really easy. This collar is right here under his ears. See how he's sticking his head out? No. So it's the highest one up, it's right under his ears. It should be loosely or lightly touching all the way around. Shouldn't be hanging if you add an extra link, because you can add or subtract little links here. It's really easy to handle. I'll show you in person. it'll be too loose, and if it's hanging and you do a little signal, a little prompt like you see me doing, it'll stick him. So it needs to be just lightly touching all the way around, not too loose, because that would be more dangerous, of course, and you don't want anything to cause him pain. Like, he's never felt pain from this since he's been here, so if you handle him the way I've been handling him with this, all you get is like great control with very little effort. That's the reason for using this. When you hook it up to the leash, by the way, you want to hook it to the funny looking buckle. There's a perfectly round little spacer here that you're not going to touch, and of course when you put it on, no. He's still waiting with the door open. He's being really good. No. And normally you wouldn't do this, but it's a good way to show you how we do this exercise. And see how I waited for a few moments? Good, he gets a reward when he waits. So just make sure it's like this. If it's twisted, it's not going to work, so you let it hang. Make sure it's not twisted. It's attached to the leash already. You reach in, hook him up. In a very short time, you'll be able to do it just by feeling. No, he's got to wait in there. And he waits until you release him out of there. No, if he tries to come out, no. Make sure he really waits. Okay, that's how he comes out. And then I always do a little left circle like this to come back and close his door. Remember, it's about controlling his access in and out of his crate. You feed him in there, he sleeps overnight in there, you make it really comfortable in there for him, blankets, towels, whatever you want to put in there, a little bed, whatever you want. Chewy's bones, good stuff, all in there. That door is always closed. It's closed when he's in, it's closed when he's out. He can't get in there to get to his good stuff unless he asks permission or unless you give him permission to go in. So you control his access in and out. It's much more than just a place where you enclose him inside a box. It's his den that you control his access in and out to. So also obviously it's a way to practice your sit, stay, and your go, and waiting in a boundary. And like I said, it's a very important boundary. So you want to use it in that manner because it's actually a tool for training. Never leave the door open because then it's just a box. It's a doghouse, and you don't get any benefit of any of that other stuff. If you control his access in and out of his favorite place in the world, the place where he sleeps and eats, then you're going to be in charge. That's a big piece of the puzzle. It makes him perceive you as the person to listen to. So that's why we do it this way, and it really helps if you do it this way. Okay. Sit. We always have Fergus sit at every gateway and every doorway and every boundary, and the curb is a boundary as well, but especially these kinds of gates that go out on the street. If you want to have a calm walk with him, you need to start the training when you're in your inside. You already have the doorway exercise we have on another clip. Okay, but you start the training when you put the leash on him inside, and you have him sit and wait at every boundary. And if you do that, this is what you get by the time you hit the street. And then if you're going to cross the street, like what I always do, I have a curb right here, sit. You notice how there I had him sit just like at the front door, and I stepped out, I stepped back. It's so much harder for him to do that than just walk through with you, that when you have the time, you should always step out, step in, or step in, step out, and he actually waits for you to come back and get him, and then he walks with you across the boundary or through the boundary slowly, okay, and calmly, respectfully, without pulling, just like we're walking right now across the street. And then we're going to do a little, you'll see we'll do a little circle over here because we're just starting our walk here. Sit. Or you could do, okay, you could do your little circle like this. Sit. And pat his chest, go. Now he's free, and we get to start our walk. And he's much calmer because the training started when you put the leash on him inside your house. The other way, the wrong way, or the way that wouldn't work would be to put the leash on him, let him drag you out through the front door, through the front gate, down the sidewalk, whatever, and then try to start training. It's too late then. He's already in kind of crazy, out of control mode. And it doesn't make sense to do it that way anyway. Makes sense to start the training in there, and then once you're out here, the reward for being calm through that zone from inside your house to the street, his reward would be, and now you did it right, so you get to be free and start our walk, and you can walk around on free time and sniff and pee and do whatever you want. Come on, bud. sit. We're introducing Fergus to a new person. You always approach that person, never have a person approach you. If you're doing this formal greeting routine, you saw me have him sit. He waited there. I went over, gave her a little treat that she'll give him. So I came back next to him, gonna pat his chest with my right hand and say, go say hi. He's gonna go over, no, go say hi to her. And then you can pet him because he's very friendly. Come. And then I'm gonna call him back to come. Left hand leash, right hand reward, step into him, have him sit. And we do this every day with somebody new every day, so he's done with a lot of people, and it just teaches him to be respectful of people and not jump on them when he meets them. We have dogs behind the camera person. Go, which is what's distracting him right now. Come. Why don't you show Kayla just really quickly the dogs over there and then pan back to us. Sit. So we have some distractions, which is good for our purposes. And then if you want to make it a little bit harder for him, you can throw in a little sit stay. See how, nope, he collapsed a little bit. That's not an SIT. So if he makes a mistake, you reset him like that and do it again and make sure you don't move on until he does it successfully. That's okay. I think the ground's kind of warm, so we're going to make this quick. Go say hi. Another treat. Come, no jumping, good. So it's just a great little exercise. You should do it with your family just to get him used to it. Do it with people he knows, do it with people he doesn't know, but always do it this way. Send him over, call him back, have him sit. It's a very structured way of meeting somebody. It teaches him to be calm. The more he does this, the calmer he gets in these situations. Hey, this way, buddy. So it's also a way to practice all your training. You got to sit, stay, you got the go command, you have to come. So it's a great way to just practice some of the training as well. Okay, we're just going to show you Fergus's basic commands out here in public. Sit. So we always say sit just once. If he does it like that, good. Reward him straight down. See how I got eye contact with a little piece of natural balance straight down. He got a reward. If he had not sat the first time I told him, I wouldn't have repeated it. I would have gently but firmly just pulled up with a little bit of pressure. Worst case scenario, you continue that pressure and take a leash with your right hand and ease him down with your left. We're doing this here where it's super busy just to show you what a good sit stay he does have. He deserves another reward for that. Of course, stay is built into sit, so I don't have to say stay. And nobody's ever said stay before. If he collapses into a down like that, you say no. And you just do a little reset. Pull up with a little bit of pressure there. And then to practice his sit stay. Sit means to stay, so you don't have to say stay. He knows when you say sit, it means to stay there. And we're showing you all this out in a real life situation because this is what matters. That he can do it with a lot of distractions. Good. And then the way to release him would be either you pat his chest and say go, or if you're going to have him walk with you, say okay, and he'll walk with you. Down. He's almost to the point where he will do it without the help, but you see how I'm doing it right now. I'm not saying the command, waiting for him to not do it, hesitate, and then forcing him down. I'm doing everything at once. It's down, the same motion, just like that. Left foot, just putting a little pressure on the leash. He actually sees the foot going up out of the corner of his eye, and he just goes down. And so you probably need to do that for a few more days until he's just a little bit better at his down, but he's almost there. The stay is rock solid. Once he's there, he'll stay there. Of course, there is no stay. We just have taught him that down means to stay until we release him. So we're doing this out in a really busy place. I want to show what's going on there. And people may walk right past us before we're done. Good. See how I'm rewarding him just as if he was on the mat. I put it down in front of him, I withdraw, he takes it off the ground. That's why I practice these down stays on a hard surface, not on grass or something, or on dirt, but on cement or something like this that's solid so that he can easily get the reward. Good. And if, of course, he were to break out of this down before I released him, I would say no. Like if I was out here and he broke out of it, I'd say no, and then just pivot on my right foot, and my left foot just steps on a leash, and he would go back. If he's all over the place for some reason, he pops up and gets crazy, you say no. Stay calm, just say no. Step into him, do a left circle, get him back to where we started in the beginning, and just do that. Don't say the command again, just say no and put him back. We want him to know that that first time means, you know, could be 3 or 4 minutes if need be. Never repeat the command, and that command will be a lot more powerful if you never say it twice. And of course, there's no stay, and he's just waiting to be released. And he's waiting for you to walk back and stand next to him like this. This is the only way he would leave out of a downstay. Pat your leg and say, okay. And then sit. If I'm going to let him be free, I'm going to have him sit first. I'm not going to release him straight out of a downstay, because you would see if you didn't do this, he would be popping up out of a downstay and running around. But this way he's still calm, because he knows when I release him out of a down, he's going to sit. And then it's easier to release him calmly from a calm sit stay. Go, like that. And then he gets to keep a little bit of calmness from that downstay. And that's the whole goal, is that we practice these basic commands in a way that that calmness takes over his life, and he's much calmer just 24/7 because of the way we do the training, because of the way we do the downstays and the sit stays, the way we release him. It's really important. So always release him, say okay, and then have him sit and release him from a calm sit stay like that, and you get a much better, calmer dog over time for just that little thing, that little change of how you release him out of a downstay. Okay. When I am practicing the come command with Fergus, I always have a loop, the handle over my left hand, and you want to do that so that way no matter what happens, you can't possibly let go of the leash or lose him. So I would highly recommend just having it hang like that. And then with my right hand, I have the reward in my right hand, and I always make a fist, because you know, when you don't have food, when it's an emergency and you need to call him to come to you, he just wants to come to this right hand reward. He doesn't know that it's empty. And so you always call him to this closed hand target. And now we are going to have a reward in it, but whenever you don't, he'll still come to this. He won't even know why. Even since the time he's been with me, you've probably called him to come to me several hundred times. So he's already it's almost like a reflex now. So when I practice calling him to come to me, I always make sure that at least he's looking away from me, so he hears the command, he has to turn away from something and come back to me. He's never staring at me. I'd never practiced calling him to me when he was staring at me. And also, when I call him to come, I always back away, because when you back away from the dog, it makes him rush to you. So see how he's distracted there? It's perfect. Come! That good. I was going to call him the other way, but all this popped up, so... See how he came to me? Come! Call him in again. Good. You see how I back away and he rushes to me? He gets the reward out of my right hand. The left hand grabs the leash, so I have control of him right away. And then you could have him sit and release him again if you wanted to. Go. You could just practice it this way. Come! Call him back to you. Good. See how that works? It's perfect. Left hand's right there. You can step into him. You can have him sit if you want. Or you can just call him to come to you and not have him sit, but you should always grab the leash or his collar to make sure that he's used to that. You don't want him to ever get used to coming, grabbing the food, and then running away again. Go. And if you're trying to calm him down, let's say he's really out of control, I'm going to create a distraction. Sometimes he won't stop looking at you if he knows what you're going to do, so you can create your own distraction. Toss the treat that way, he's distracted. Come, call him back to you. Good. So if you're ever trying to calm him down or get him out of like heavy play mode, sit, call him to come to you, and make sure that you have him do something in addition to that recall. So he does a little 30 seconds or so of focus, doing either a sit stay or a down stay, and then release him to go. Because if you're just calling him back and forth to come to you really quickly, it's not quite as effective as if you call him to you and then get him into thinking mode for a little bit before you release him again. Go.